Good morning, everybody. We're excited to have two guests with us, Lindsay and Jacqueline from CEA Kappa, also known as Atlantis, to talk about pre-health programs and shadowing abroad. So with that, Lindsay, Jacqueline, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for that kind introduction. And you had mentioned we were in Italy together looking at our Atlantis programs, meeting with hospital partners. And we talked about this day, about having some time with you all to hold an info session. So I'm glad that it came to fruition and so excited to share more about it. As Charlie mentioned, my name is Lindsay Molesky, and I'm a Senior Partner Success Manager at CEA Kappa. So today we'll be walking you through our program logistics, what's included in our program, and more about the application process. We'll also have some time with my colleague Jackie Ricardo to share her own experience as an Atlantis alum. She also works on our admissions team, so she wears a lot of hats and is going to be able to share so much about her own experience on Atlantis. Jackie, do you mind doing a quick intro and saying hello?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. So, like Lindsay said, my name is Jacqueline. I also go by Jackie. I myself am a postgrad, so I've done both a bachelor's and a master's, and I've been lucky enough to go on two Atlantis programs, which I will tell you more about. I even have photos to show for my own program, and I'm so excited to speak with you all today.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to get us started. So I'll start with our Atlantis program overview. So Atlantis offers clinical shadowing programs specifically designed for pre-health students looking for meaningful and early clinical exposure. So as part of our program, students complete 20 hours per week of double AMC compliant shadowing, strictly observational only, what we like to call hands in pocket. This ensures the experience is ethical, structured, and appropriate for undergrad students. You may be wondering what sets us apart, and we believe that's our rotating specialty model. Rather than a single placement, students move into a new specialty each week, gaining broad exposure across different departments. So that breadth helps students confirm their career goals and speak more confidently in future applications and interviews. As you can see here on the slide, our programs range from 1 to 9 weeks, and they take place during summer and winter break, making them easy to fit in without disrupting the academic semester. Summer sessions run from early May to early August. And what we call our winter break, we have program sessions in December and January. And we see that on average, students select 3 week long programs. But as I had mentioned, if you don't have that much time, we have as short as 1 week. And then also Jackie can talk a little bit more during the Q&A if anyone's curious about how we would do a multi-country program where you can put two different programs together, and that's will get you a longer experience abroad. And we intentionally keep our cohorts small. So you can see here our average group size is 8 to 10 students per group, which reflects our 2-to-1 student to physician ratio. And this ensures a very personalized experience for every student. Okay, you may be wondering what's included in our program. As mentioned, you'll complete 20 hours of shadowing per week, rotating into a new department each week for that broad exposure we just talked about. When you're not in the hospital, Atlantis plans cultural experiences to help you connect with your host country. Housing is provided in a clean, safe accommodations. For shorter programs, that may be a hotel. Typically, our students stay in apartments or dormitory style or student residences. And health insurance is included throughout the program. On the day-to-day side, the program includes a partial meal plan with daily breakfast and 3 group meals per week, as well as local transportation to and from the hospital. Most times that includes one of those transportation cards where you have access to the city buses, the metro. Sometimes you can walk from your housing to the hospital. It really depends on the program location, but that is included for you. Outside of scheduled activities, you'll have plenty of free time to explore on your own. Atlantis staff will also be on site, so you'll have your own city manager who will be on site throughout the program to support you every step of the way. Here on the screen, under the not included side, it's important to note that round trip airfare and related travel expenses are not included in the program fee, so you'll want to plan for those separately. Okay, so what does the weekly schedule look like? So this is an overview of what the weekly schedule in Atlantis would look like. As you can see here, the weekly schedule will repeat throughout the duration of your program. So if you enroll in a 3-week program, you will have 3 weeks that look like this schedule, for example. Students shadow 4 days a week. So you can see here Monday through Thursday, typically from 9 to 2 p.m., about 5 hours per day. And as I had mentioned, this is with just 2 students placed in a department at a time. Fridays are reserved for that cultural excursion organized by your site manager. So here we have maybe a hike or a day trip to a nearby city. We've also organized historical or cultural sightseeing adventures. Group dinners are held twice a week, and weekends are left open for whether you want to rest or explore your host city or even travel in nearby country or other countries as well. So yes, we have a lot of free time on the weekend for independent exploration. One thing worth noting is that no knowledge of the local language is required for you to participate on our programs. English proficiency varies, of course, within the hospital, but we ensure that all the physicians and healthcare teams that you'll be shadowing with, can communicate effectively with students. That said, we do encourage students to familiarize themselves with the local language. Duolingo is a great app that I usually use before I head abroad because, your host healthcare team and the folks that you meet do appreciate when we try to speak in their language. And it definitely enriches the experience, even if it's not mandatory. Okay, so here is a sample rotation schedule that shows you what it would look like, for example, 3 students, A, B, and C, on a 5-week hospital shadowing program. So each week the student is placed in a different hospital department or medical specialty. Rather than remaining in just one unit, students rotate through specialties such as cardiology, surgery, internal medicine, pediatrics, and more. And this, of course, is depending on the hospital availability. This structure allows students to explore a range of career paths, compare different clinical environments, and gain insight into how physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals work together to deliver patient care within a hospital setting. Okay, you may be wondering, where do we have hospital partners and where are the places that you could potentially go to? So this slide shows our European destination options with multiple cities available within each country. Programs are hosted in established public and teaching hospitals across Italy, Spain, Portugal, Greece, Croatia, Hungary, and Poland. So for students seeking the energy of a major city, we have destinations like a Rome, an Athens, a Madrid. And for those looking for a smaller city experience with a more local feel and even a lower budget, options include Pavia, Tarrasa, Coimbra, and Zagreb as a few examples. And then also here you can see we do have that multi-country option where students can string together, if you will, multiple program sessions, whether it's, 2 cities in the same country or even going to experience different countries. So that's also an option, and feel free to ask any questions once we get to that slide. So here are some quotes that we like to include so you can hear directly from our partners and our participants. So Jason serves as the assistant dean at Seton Hall University and has sent many of his pre-health students through Atlantis programs. His reaction says it all, witnessing surgeries firsthand, observing real patient interactions, and immersing in a new culture. That's exactly the kind of transformative experience we aim to deliver for every student. And then also Abraham, an Atlantis alum here, captures it beautifully from Cornell. The clinical exposure Atlantis offers is truly one of a kind. And that sense of I couldn't have gotten this anywhere else is something we hear time and time again for our alumni. And so that drives everything we do. And now the fun part, I get to hand it over to my colleague Jackie, who knows firsthand about our Atlantis experience. She's actually been on two programs. And like I said, she's on our admissions team. So she speaks to students like you all interested about learning more about Atlantis every single day. So happy to hand it over to you, Jackie, and learn more about your experience.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. So, to tell you a little bit more about my background, I am a postgrad. So, I am class of 23 for my bachelor's. I have my bachelor's in bio with a double minor in pre-health studies and psychology. And I also have my master's from class of 24, bio with a concentration in health studies. I will say that in Atlantis, we do get an amazing variety of pre-health students. So, we get a good mix of like pre-med, pre-nursing, pre-PA. I've even been getting like pre-dental students lately. And I am currently serving as an admissions coordinator, so I am on a gap. I've been graduated for almost 2 years now, which is kind of crazy. But I have absolutely loved serving as admissions coordinator at Atlantis. All of the admissions coordinators are actually alumni. So when you apply for the program and you do your interview, you get to interview with an alumni like me, and it's been a really great place to be while I am applying to different doctoral programs. And so I have been lucky enough to actually do two Atlantis programs. I did summer 24 and summer 25. In summer 2024, I did Budapest, Hungary, and I got to shadow at Gokfi Hospital. And then in summer 25, just last summer, I got to shadow in Chioggia, Italy at the Ospedale de Madonna. And both experiences were absolutely amazing. And I will say, despite being in two very different countries, it was very much a very similar Atlantis experience. Like the kind of interaction I got in the hospital, the way I was immersed in the culture, and Budapest was a very big city, and Chioggia was a very rural city. So I will say that there is benefit regardless of where you choose, and you really have a lot of different options as far as the city and the country you choose. I think we have 7 different countries total, so there's a really huge variety. And I'm definitely going to focus a little bit more today on my Budapest program because that was the longer program I did. I did 3 weeks in Budapest, and I actually was lucky enough to shadow 4 different specialties in a 3 week program. So you are guaranteed one specialty per week. Like the schedule that Lindsay showed, it could be orthopedics your first week, pediatrics your second week, and then maybe like emergency your third week. As an enrolled student, you do get to request specialties. So once you finalize your enrollment, you're on the Atlantis student portal, you can write down any specialties that you're interested in. And I actually requested psychiatry when I did my program, but the hospital did not have a psychiatric unit. So they did get me one day in with a clinical psychologist. So that's how I got to shadow interventional cardiology, psychology, electrophysiology, and ICU all in the same 3 week program. And Lindsay, you can go ahead and switch to the next slide because while I talk about shadowing, I'm actually going to go ahead and pull up photos from my own program. So these are all photos from my 3 week program in Budapest and the shadowing experience. So shadowing, you're guaranteed at least 5 hours, 4 days per week. So you're guaranteed at least 20 hours per week. And the very first day of shadowing is an orientation. So you do have a city manager throughout your entire program who is a local to the country. So you have an Atlantis employee, a city manager that's there to guide the group. They honestly have the most amazing balance between guidance and independence, making sure that the group is set, you guys are communicating well, and you know exactly where you're going. But you also do have like free time in the afternoons, you have free time on the weekends. And so the first day of shadowing is orientation. From there, you get introduced to your assigned doctor and you get to shadow in your specialty. One thing I will say is that every time you're in a specialty, there's at least one doctor who is guaranteed to speak English. I found that almost every single doctor spoke English. A lot of the nurses did too. And in this program, you don't have to just shadow the doctors. Like I was shadowing the doctors, I was shadowing the surgical nurses. At one point, I was shadowing the clinical psychologist and the physiotherapist. So you're going to get exposed to a really amazing variety of different health professions. And if you are in any kind of surgical specialty, they actually did welcome us into the operating room. So we did get to scrub in. The hospital provided the PPE, and we were welcomed into the operating room itself just to stand a couple feet away from the sterile field. So when I was in interventional cardiology, the hospital I was at was actually actually one of the biggest cardiology hospitals. That was very much the focus. So there were multiple operating rooms, and I would kind of get to choose which procedure I saw. I got to see transaortic valve insertions, like atrial septal wall repairs, angiographies, like a lot of amazing procedures that here in the US, they just do not let undergrads get that up close and personal. Like we have a huge disconnect between undergrad and grad school here in the US that does not exist in Europe. So I'm kind of rambling on about shadowing, but it was a really incredible experience. You can see kind of the dress code for shadowing. It's business casual. You'll bring a white lab coat from home. And then up here, you can see this was me all prepped for surgery. And the dorms are really incredible. The housing is always either dorm style or apartment style. So it is never like a hostel or a host family situation, nothing like that. You're just staying with the other Atlantis students. And even though their programs are co-ed, housing is kept gender separated. So it's typically like two girls per room, two boys per room. They will place you together based on like your application and your personality. So I always felt like I got the right roommate. And we did have access to laundry and it was really comfortable housing. Very close to the hospital as well. And they always put the housing super central to the city. And like Lindsay mentioned earlier, there are a lot of meals included in your tuition. So we were given breakfast every single day. And for those group dinners, we actually were taken to different restaurants. So multiple times a week, the program would take us to authentic spots to try the local cuisine. You can see up here, this is what our group dinner looked like. So we got to try many different restaurants as part of the program. All of those meals were fully included in the tuition. And if you do have any dietary restrictions, they will accommodate for you. Like we were in Italy with celiac, so we had students that were gluten-free in Italy. They were still able to have their gluten-free pasta. They were a-okay. So whatever dietary restrictions you might have, they will accommodate for you. And since you're shadowing Monday through Thursday, Fridays themselves are cultural excursions. So Fridays are for fun and to connect with the city. The activities that you do are going to be specifically tailored to the city that you're in. The first week is always a city tour. So we got to see the Castle District in Budapest. We saw Parliament, the Basilica, lots of different monuments, and they were fully coordinated by our city manager. So she told us the itinerary, she gave us our entry tickets, and really was almost the most amazing tour guide for those Fridays, would take us around the city. But the second Friday during my program was my favorite because the program did a boat charter for us. So we got to go kayaking, we got to go swimming. I remember the lunch that day was pizza and gelato. So I was really impressed with the quality of the excursions themselves. And then like Lindsay also mentioned, you do get full free time Saturdays and Sundays. So the city manager is still available during your free times. They're never farther than a phone call away. So we would text her like, hey, what recommendations do you have for us? How do we get our train ticket? What food places do you recommend? And it was so easy to make friends on the program as well. We do get students from all over the US. I personally am from Miami, Florida, and we had students from California, Boston, Idaho, New York, and we all became the best of friends. Just the way you're staying at housing, you're shadowing together. By the time it gets to that first Saturday, you've already all made plans together, and the program really flows nicely from there. Like after the first week, you're gonna find that you have like a really good routine between going to the hospital, having fun after shadowing, the Friday excursions, and your free weekends. And overall, it was a really amazing experience. That is why I did it twice. And I really cannot understate just the amount of professional and personal development I got out of it. So thank you all so much for coming today. And should you apply to the program, you will get to interview with either me or one of the alumni like me.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. That was fantastic. And that is our presentation. We are available for any questions that you might have.
I see Stella. I think you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question, or you can type it in the chat, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, what does the application process exactly look like? I know you mentioned interviews, but is there an application process to get those interviews? And would they be like on Zoom? And when around would that be happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to go through the application process. I will say that we do have rolling admissions. So if you do still want to jump on to this summer, like you want to do maybe like a June or July or an August program, you absolutely still can. And the application process is super quick and easy. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab the link for you now. I'll drop it in the meeting chat. This is how you'll go ahead and apply for the program online. Once you submit your application, you are typically invited very quickly to schedule your interview. During the interview, you'll get to meet with your admissions coordinator, and it's typically a really quick enrollment process. I will say that we do get a lot of students, and the program is more selective than competitive. So we don't necessarily have like a GPA requirement or a class requirement. You can do this, or like any prerequisites. You can really do this at any point in your undergrad career. What we're really looking for is passion to immerse yourself in a new culture, that desire to really broaden your horizons and shadow and get a lot of experience, like clinical experience. That's really what we're looking for. So I will say it's very quick and easy. And if you have any questions about the application process, I'll go ahead and drop my email as well. That way you can feel free to email me directly if you have any issues or any questions. I hope that answered your question. I know I kind of rambled a little bit there.
Thank you. Yeah, then.
Okay, and then we had a second hand if you want to unmute yourself. You might have already sent it in the chat. Yeah, you can do this program the summer after graduation. We actually get quite a couple students who do that. I think it's honestly kind of a great way to celebrate graduation, like do a shadow abroad program, and then you're also boosting your resume for when you apply to grad school. And then I see that Jacob asked regarding the tuition. I will say the tuition price varies a lot depending on the city that you choose. So a 3-week program in Rome can cost a lot more than a 3-week program in Budapest. Like that's one of the reasons I chose Budapest was because it was a very affordable city. And I will say the tuition is directly tied to the cost of living in the cities. The local economy is what causes that difference between our different cities. And I'll go ahead and grab for you. This is the link to the program location. So it's basically like the class catalog for Atlantis. You can see all of the different cities, all of the different countries, and you can see the tuition prices. And the really great thing about tuition as well is that you're not expected to pay it all at once. So you can break it up into interest-free payments, and we do also have a scholarship that you can apply for as well. Definitely wouldn't have been able to do the program without the scholarship for sure. That helped me a lot in being able to break up the payments. And then I also just remembered with the application process, all of our interviews are done by Microsoft Teams. So it's not done by Zoom, but Microsoft Teams is pretty simple, and your admissions coordinator can help you with that. And then Jessica has a question. Oh, Jessica, you're still muted. I see you're still, there you go.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Um, Now, I just want to say thank you to both of you guys, Jacqueline and Lindsay, for your time today and sharing all this comprehensive information. I feel like it's a very exciting experience to want to try to apply to. As for the rotation schedule and the specialties, I know it was mentioned that you're um, kind of guaranteed like one specialty per week, but what would be the maximum amount of specialties that you could see? Like, for example, if you were to do like the 9 week, because I know that you had mentioned you did a 3 week, but you saw 4 specialties. Is it kind of the norm to just get once a week, or like what would be the max?
Oh, this is a fantastic question. I can say the absolute norm, what you're guaranteed is one specialty per week. Now, in a case where you get to see more than one specialty, the best way that I can explain Atlantis is that Atlantis opens the doors for you and authorizes you to be there. Then you get to make the most of it as a student and you get to connect with the doctors. So I left my program with a recommendation letter. That's not guaranteed by the program, but I connected with the pediatric director of the hospital, and it was to the point where he was okay with me sometimes visiting his specialty. Even when I wasn't assigned interventional cardiology, I was able to go back. But this is at the discretion of the doctors. You cannot do anything without the doctor's permission. So Atlantis will tell you that you're in pediatrics for the week. Now, if the pediatric surgeon says, hey, come with me, I'm going to take you to go see a brain surgery happening on the upper floor, that's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity that you can take advantage of as a student, right? But that's not guaranteed by the program. What you're guaranteed by the program is one specialty per week. And it's going to be at the doctor's discretion. Like, that's gonna like you definitely always want to make sure that you're asking the doctors questions, being polite, being courteous to them. But I will say if you're someone that you're like, I know I want to see at least 4 or 5 different specialties, then you're gonna want to do at least a 4 or 5 week program.
Got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. All
Any
right, and then I
other
think
questions? I know I'm following in the chat. These are great questions.
And I also will say that you are able to enroll with a friend. So if you do enroll in a program together, it's actually very simple on the admissions coordinator side. You just both apply for the program. You find a program that has at least 2 seats remaining. And if you are going with a friend that you are the same gender, then you can even be roommates.
I was actually just going to ask a question about somewhat related to that, Jacqueline. Let's say that I've never been out of the country or I've not been to Europe. This would be my first time abroad. Can you just talk a little bit about the support structure and how I know I won't be lonely, or how did you deal with that, or homesickness, being abroad?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I actually will say I think I'm very well suited for this question because my Budapest program was my first time ever going to Europe, ever flying alone. So I will say I went into the program very scared, very nervous. Part of the support I think goes into the preparation. So once you're on the Atlantis student portal, they have so much amazing information like what to pack, what to expect, housing guidelines, hospital guidelines. So you're going in very well aware of like what to expect. And then on top of that, you do have the city manager that is available 24/7 throughout the program. And the city manager will also contact you a couple weeks before the program starts. So before I even hopped on my flight, I had the contact information. I was texting the person who would be in charge of me and the rest of my group, right? So that definitely gave me a lot of confidence just being able to talk with them ahead of time. And then a couple weeks before the program starts, they also do an orientation call where you get to meet the entire group, you get to meet your city manager. They show you the housing, show you the hospital. They also give you the addresses and very explicit arrival instructions. So they tell you exactly how you're going to get from the airport to the housing. They give you the best advice, exactly what you're looking for. You also do have an airport greeter on arrival day. So I feel like that's really amazing. You have a smiling face waiting for you. I feel like that's kind of a big hump for a lot of students is like, when I get to the airport, what do I do? There will be someone there to help you, right? And then you'll also have the city manager's contact information. And so from there, I will say something that helped me a lot was how small the groups were. So I feel like maybe in a study abroad program that's like 30 students, I feel like it may be easy to get lost in that crowd. But in these programs, it's only 8 to 10 students. So the entire program, even from the very beginning, and on both programs as well, we were always sticking together as the big group. Like I was never alone. We either were the big group, would break off into smaller groups. The program put us in a group chat immediately. So already the program was encouraging communication. They put the roommates, I think, very intelligently. Like they did place us based on our application and our personality. Like for me, they put the two girls with psychology degrees in the same room. We got along so amazing. Like that was such a smart choice on the program's part. And I will say it was really easy to make friends. The city manager was so easy to talk to. We felt really comfortable with them to the point where when we did have late nights, the city manager knew exactly where we were. They were aware of where we were, that we were on a boat charter, that we were having a late night, right? So I found that it was really easy to make friends. I found that I had a lot of support. The housing was very comfortable too, which I feel like to like let go of homesickness, you have to be comfortable like in the temporary home, right? So I feel like that definitely helped a lot how comfortable I felt. I felt like I had a good home base while I was there. And there also was Wi-Fi at the housing, so I was able to contact family as needed. I was able to stay connected back home. So I know I've kind of rambled on a little bit here, but I hope that kind of goes and shows the amount of support and academic community you have while you're abroad. Like overall, I would say the hardest part of the program was just getting on the plane. Once I got there, I was fine. I just had to get on the plane.
Super helpful. Thank you. Other questions? And feel free to unmute yourselves. You can put your question in the chat, but I'll record for another minute or so. And then I know that some folks prefer to ask questions off camera, and I'll turn the recording off and we'll have the remainder of the time for questions as well. All right, well, I'll turn off the recording.